So yeah, that's it so far. But like I said, I did 4 mistakes, and I know that now that I need to probably do retouch or similar things on a different app.
Brilliant. Ooh. 12 pages, and including the page that you were considering also
probably
adding in.
Gonna be 15, 16 when I close it up.
It's good that it's got so many comical moments and emotional moments as well, because it kind of like pulls you back and forth. You're like, okay, we're talking about something emotional now, and then something kind of wacky sort of happens, and it's kind of it kind of tugs you back and forth, which is nice. I like that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I think that's another thing that probably Tony and I will struggle with more on this particular challenge. Even though we know a lot about the comics that we like to read, we don't know a lot about like the common sort of jokes, like you say, with like, you know, the chibi characters in the background, like doing funny faces. Like that's not something we'll have seen as much of in other genres.
Yeah, so yeah, this is so far, like I said, it is not completely finished yet. I'm sorry, but I learned a lot on this journey. I learned a lot from the way you are completely differently structuring your stories, and I definitely want to give this a final edit. So meaning, you know, finish all the pages and then proper shading and give them the ending they deserve, or give the viewers the ending that is now anticipated.
The button that they deserve.
No!
Yes!
No.
The bludgeoning that they deserve.
No!
How did you get along doing the line art in Procreate? Did you find any sort of new challenges after you moved into that section?
I find it really helpful in Procreate. You can tap in and have the grid, so you can have a grid in. Ooh. I found that really helpful. I needed that to get the lines straight. Sometimes the bubbles you can see start thinner and get thicker, so I played around with it and realized as I was going along that some of the pens don't do that, and pick them for later. Like literally every page I learned something new. I learned something about the program, or the way I'm just like pushing on the iPad. I learned a lot just by doing, and I think that's one of the wonderful things, that you can look all the tutorials and can do all of that, but the fact that we all sat down and did this and gave each other the pressure to keep doing this by having these meetings helped so much.
Absolutely. I can
say,
totally
one
agree.
day I'll do it, or I'll just watch another 100 tutorials before I actually put my pen to paper. No, just it has to be the combination.
There were a lot of times when I came up against problems in Clip Studio, I was just like, I would normally have just turned the computer off by now and played a video game.
I think that's because we're holding each other accountable. Yeah. That is probably one of the things I can also advise to the viewers, that if you are doing something like that, maybe get a friend in, or maybe do it along with us, pick up our topics, start drawing your mangas with us. So you get like the incentive to, okay, I know they got 2 weeks to do this, I got two weeks to do this, and then see that you can also complete it at the same time. It's like a gym buddy. We're each other's gym buddies right now.
Looking at the comments in the like during the videos, and a lot of people do want to draw and make their comics with us as well.
Yeah,
too.
Absolutely, we'll be incorporating that for sure.
Sweet.
Absolutely. How did you decide? Because you've got a lot of creative panels in here, like there's a diagonal sort of trapezoid here and a diagonal trapezoid here, and then this one, I really liked this one. This is kind of like, it reminds me of that moment in Zelda 64 when you first press the Z trigger and it like goes into cinematic mode. It's got this kind of like filmic effect because it goes into a sort of widescreen all of a sudden.
With panels, I don't like the typical comic panels as much, where it's just like, you know, 6 on a page or something. I do like the open panels. I do like the big outstretched panels. It's just like through the years of like, I used to do manga at university and before that, and it's just the kind of panels that I started enjoying. Like when for this one I want to feel it open when she hands this over, or little scenes, then I put them into little panels, and then there's this big outstretched scene when she hands it over, and I want to have that open and bigger. It's like that.
That's interesting. So it's almost like when you've got scenes where they're located in a space, then they're like in a box, but then when they're just doing something and it's all kind of like, there's just lots of emotion coming out, then it's kind of like, I really like how you've used like no panel, there's like no borders for that. That's sort of like borderless style. But
sometimes just open it up and like I feel like it can breathe better. For me, my challenge was sometimes to actually close the panel. So remember, for example, the lower panel that we have here, I knew I have to close this one because there was a big open panel before. So this one needs to be closed. So the one that had to breathe got more space to breathe, and it doesn't feel less special because then otherwise all the panels will end up looking the same. So I do like changing my panels around a lot and making it a bit more dynamic. So if I see I've done the same thing a couple of pages before, like the page before, I try not to repeat that.
That's so interesting, because even if even if this widescreen style is, or this open borderless style is best for this scene, like if it is the same panel over and over again, then as a reading experience, that can get kind of dull. I hadn't thought about that.
That's on this one. I needed to have at least some perspective in because I got rid of the original dramatic perspective. So that's why I put the main character in the front and make her really thick, place if she's closer to the camera.
Right.
I skipped the idea of this one here because I was just struggling too much with the perspective.
I'll tell you what though, I do really like this top-down angle. It's just very sudden and it's kind of like something is clearly important happening. But again, like you say, if you don't want it to be that intense at that moment, then I see why you
I regret taking it out. I could have left it in.
I still could put it back in.
You can still put it back in.
I think knowing what the focal point is usually, you can usually tell through all the drawings. Also, you can tell like how your drawing improves as you get towards the last pages compared to the first pages. You can see that the repetition is really paying off because one of the best bits of advice I heard from some other mangaka, they said like, of course, you know, learning anatomy and all that stuff, perspective and all that stuff, you learn the basics, but how you actually really get good is just draw manga. Then that's all you have to do.
Yeah, do it.
As opposed to just doing practicing. I mean, of course, practicing is something that should always be done because we will forget some of these things over time. So like part of my regular routine is just to do like piano scales, you know, just to keep warm and loose and just get used to it. But at a certain point, when you're making like manga or comics or whatever, your scenes and what you're trying to say in your comics will force you to draw things that you would not normally be thinking about making as part of your practice routine. It's a good challenge.
Yeah, I think it was also the point of like you start thinking, okay, how, for example, where do I put this panel? How do I frame this panel? How do I make this dynamic? How do I make this explanatory? Where do I change the angle, the perspective? Because the last thing you want to have is just talking heads all looking in the same direction.
Yeah, I guess if you are going to do that, then you may as well just write a book, huh?
Yeah,
it's a lot of people who are used to just draw people who look in one direction. They do that, so it's important to even if I can't do the complicated angle, how can I make this interesting? How can I still bring some variety into it? So you also feel like there's something happening. You have a bit of shift of perspectives and stuff, like the movies.
All right, so Kathy, any final things before we move on to Tony's manga?
Practice makes perfect. Doing this together has really helped, and do it with us. Do the thing with us. Just put your pen to paper. Hold yourself accountable for the things you're going to be doing.
Absolutely. Good job, Kathy.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to telling you how it's going to end. There's a little bit of a twist at the end, and look forward to showing that to you. She needs to finally hand over the chocolate.
Yeah. So moving on to Tony's manga.